All right, everyone ready to go? First off, thank you everyone for coming and taking part in local politics. We appreciate the big crowd. Again, this is our final candidates forum of 2013. Our fourth one, all of them put together by Mark. Raise your hand, Mark. Mark does a great job with these. Thank you, Mark. So, this is the second and final one for Burien City Council candidates. And the first announcement is turn off your cell phones, for crying out loud. What's wrong with you? I'm reading from the script. While you're doing that, I'll tell you a little housekeeping. Later tonight around 8:30 or so, we will go to the audience, that's you, for questions. When we do, please direct your question to all four of the candidates up here. Keep your question in the form of a question, and if your topic has already been covered by the time the mic comes to you, it's one of these things, this is a microphone, and you want to put it close to your mouth. If you have it down here, you can't really hear it, can you? So you got to move it up until you can hear your own voice. When you hear your own voice, you know you're doing it right. So if your topic's been covered, try to come up with something new and different. We also have what's called the purple card option. Somebody hold up your purple card. Joey's holding one up because he's got a purple shirt on. Each candidate has been given a purple 3x5 index card. During the forum, once all four candidates have finished answering a question, any candidate can hold up their purple card as a challenge. The moderator will call on that candidate, and he or she is then allowed 20 extra seconds to add to or follow up on their own answer or another candidate's answer. Each candidate can use their purple card twice, 2 times during the entire evening. The purple card does not apply to opening or closing statements, so keep that in mind. Now, tonight, we're lucky again to have our moderator is Nancy Warren. Nancy, give them a wave. A Des Moines resident since 1995, Nancy Warren is a native of the great state of Washington. She's worked for Highline Community College since 1999 as manager for instruction. She collaborates with her husband, Dr. T.M. Sell, who I went to Highline College with at a certain time. I think that was in the early 2000s, right? Yeah, as a business manager of Breeders Theater, and they have a performance coming up. Now, you may remember Breeders Theater when they performed at EB Winery. Well, they moved down to Des Moines, and they are having a production called Blood Pudding, which opens October 25th at the Des Moines Beach Park Auditorium. And one other note, when we are doing the questions, we will have 2 microphones, and unless you're really loud, we hope you hold it close to your mouth. Thank you. Nancy, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. We're proud of you. Come back. Delighted to be back in Burien, just north of my fair city, Des Moines. And today I am happy to introduce our panel list. We had 2. I'll tell you that sad story in a minute. But I'm delighted to introduce Arun Javari. Arun is the first mayor of Burien, serving in that office for more than 5 years. He's an author, a physicist, and a mechanical engineer. He earned his doctorate in educational leadership. Sitting just a few yards away, Arun once saw President John F. Kennedy deliver a commencement speech and was moved to high causes and public service from that moment forward. Mr. Javari was there in Bombay, now called Mumbai, on that momentous day when hundreds of millions in the nation of India celebrated independence from Great Britain. It was the late 1940s then, celebrating with his family. Arun was a small child, and he looked a bit different then. He was not much bigger than a volleyball glued to a basketball. I did not write this. I was supplied this by Mark Newman. And masquerading as Jack Maine, that I will be Jack today because I look so much like him. Yeah, so I won't read Jack's introduction, but Jack was taken ill today, and so he sends his regrets that he can't join us, but he did send questions, so you're not off the hook on that. So I will be filling in for Jack Maine, which is kind of entertaining, right? But without further ado, I'm delighted to introduce our candidates today from the left of the room to the right: Lauren Berkowitz, Jack Block, Steve Armstrong, and Joey Martinez. What we will do is we will have questions from Arun and the artist formerly known as Jack, Jack Main's questions, and we will start with Mr. Javari. And the way we will run throughout the evening is we will start with Lauren and work our way down, and then when the second question comes, we'll do a rolling start. Then we will start with Jack and circle back, and then we will come to Steve. So it will be a rolling start. And I've made a better chart tonight to keep track of where we are, so I won't have to ask for help when we get to number 6. Arun, you're up.
Actually, opening statement.
Good evening, everyone.
You want to do opening statements, please?
Pardon me?
Opening statements.
I'll never be asked back again this year. Now we would like to take opening statements from the candidates. Yeah, I know. I got all excited about being Jack Main. I'd like to remind you that your opening statement is to be limited to 75 seconds. That's 1 minute and 15 seconds. And we do have a timekeeper here who will indicate to you when you are 10 seconds away from the end of time. And then it's my job to carry us to the next. So we will start with opening statements from the candidates, and then we will go to Arun. So please, Lauren, if you would begin.
Hello, I'm Lauren Berkowitz. I'm running for Burien City Council Position 1. I'm very excited to be here, as well as to be running for office. I believe that local government is critical in representing all of the citizens and representing them all equally, making sure that everybody has a voice and that everybody's voice is equal. And so I believe that the City Council needs to represent the issues that are important to the candidates, or to the residents. And right now, the issues important to the residents are very basic city services. Things like sidewalks, speeding, police presence, just basic public safety issues, as well as animal control, which I frequently hear about. And I'm out talking to the residents nearly every day, have been for several months, and so I am very confident that that will continue once I'm elected, and that the residents will continue to have a voice on the City Council. I look forward to being here, to being elected. 11 years ago, I came to Burien, and I worked at Mount View Elementary with 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students. I have been in and out of Burien ever since. I organized with the unions for 5 years and have been working in the community. And I'm running out of time, but thank you very much for having me. I look forward to being your representative.
Jack?
First of all, I want to say it's pretty big shoes to fill the shoes of any Jack. My name is Jack Block Jr. I'm running for Burien City Council. One of my proudest accomplishments this term on council was when I asked that the Burien organizational chart be changed to reflect who is really in charge of our city, the citizens. I was elected to represent all the citizens of Burien, young and old, rich and poor. That is why, when the former city manager advocated for an unnecessary electric utility tax increase, I spoke up against it and requested that instead we use our reserves. Today our reserves remain untouched. That is why when the Shoreline Advisory Board and the Planning Commission wanted to make over half the homes on our shoreline non-compliant and unable to obtain financing and insurance, I said no. That is why I said no to a proposal to extend our garbage contract and instead put it out to bid. As a result, Burien residents who compost will see a $10 a month decrease in their rates, and the city will receive over $650,000 to maintain its roads. That's why I asked for a resolution supporting comprehensive immigration reform. A child who is born in the United States and is a citizen should not go to sleep worried that they may be left a virtual orphan because their parents are undocumented and may be deported. It is time to put Burien back on track. On the table in the rear is a brief statement on my plan to do so. I urge you to grab a copy after the meeting.
Steve?
Thank you. Hello, I'm Steve Armstrong, and I'm running for position 7 on the Burien City Council. I'm not a politician. I'm a concerned citizen who wants to get Burien back on track. I'm running for office to protect and enhance our quality of life in our neighborhoods. to listen and act upon your voice, to engage with our schools to create more opportunities for our children and young adults, and to construct a business-friendly Burien, to help ensure our health and safety, and to revisit our original vision for town square and intelligent growth. I've lived in this area pretty much all of my life and seen a lot of good. However, in recent years, it seems as though we haven't made as much progress, with the focus being on issues that would have a negative impact on our livelihood. I work very well with people and believe I am an effective leader with ideas and vision to enhance our community. With your support, I can get Burien back on the track with the wheels moving in a positive direction. Thank you.
Joey.
Hi, thanks everyone for being here. My name is Joey Martinez and I'm running for Burien City Council, position 7. I'm running because Burien needs new leadership. As your council member, I will work on issues that affects people's lives daily. I will prioritize fire and police protection to ensure that first responders receive the resources and support they need to keep our community safe. I will expand recreational opportunities for our youth and families of all income levels and ensure protection of our shorelines and environment. I've coached and umpired Little League Baseball and currently coach Burien Bearcats football. I've lived in Burien for a total of 9 years. My wife is a lifelong resident and my boys Justin and Jace were born at Highline Hospital. I'm a senior network engineer for the City of Seattle and serve on the Burien Planning Commission. I'm endorsed by the King County Democrats, King County Labor Council, Burien Firefighters, Progressive Majority, and numerous unions and local businesses. My experience in city government has equipped me to solve problems firmly, fairly, and responsibly. My name is Joey Martinez, and I respectfully ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. And now, Burien.
Okay, thank you. Let me start out with a question regarding the city governance issue. It's like a three-legged stool. You got the part-time elected city council, then you have full-time city manager and his or her staff, and of course, third, the most important, the Burien citizens. In order to balance that three-legged stool, each of these entities has to do their part according to the Burien city ordinances and laws. So my question is, as a newly elected council member or as a re-elected council member, how would you exercise your responsibilities to make sure that as elected council members, you spend most of your time in policy and budget development and not interfere with the day-to-day operations of the city manager and his staff?
We'll start with Lauren.
Thank you. I have a lot of respect for city staff and for public workers in general. For the last 3 years, I worked for the Washington Federation of State Employees and represented and organized public sector workers. So I very much value what they contribute to this city. They contribute a lot of expertise and dedication. As a part-time city council person, that I just don't, it's not my role to contribute. So I think that respect actually will enable me to make sure that I'm doing my part and participating in the planning and the policy making rather than the day-to-day functions of the staff. I also think it's important to remember that we're beholden to the citizens, and I think that's really what's missing from the council, because in that policy making and in that planning, we need to make sure that we're representing what the citizens want. So one example is speeding enforcement. That currently is the lowest priority of the police force in Burien, but it's the #1 far and away thing that I hear from concerned citizens every day when I'm out talking to people and knocking on doors. And so I think it's very important to make sure that while we do respect the city workers and the city staff, we also make sure that our policies reflect the citizens. Thank you.
Jack?
You know, the role of elected officials is to set policy and to make sure that policy is carried out. And when an appointed city manager fails to do that, I think it's inherent upon the city council members who are elected and are the representatives of the people to make sure that city policy has been carried out. We have a large number of issues that we're facing within our city, and governance is an important one. We have upcoming selection of a city manager taking place, and I think it's very important at the very get-go that we convey to that individual that it's council's job to set policy, and that his job is to follow through and carry out that policy that council sets, not to try to assume a role as a policy setter. It's been a problem that we've had in the past, and as a result, we have a lot of serious problems that we're going to have to pick up for in the future. Thank you.
Steve?
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with a little bit of what Jack said as far as the policy setting. What's really important, though, is to make sure that there's a level playing field. We get a new manager in, he or she is going to have to do a thing we call performance management, where we have at the beginning of their term, we sit down and we establish the goals, and then we work through the year, and we have an interim review, and we revisit those goals and see where help is needed. And at the end of the year, we do a closeout and see how well the performance has been. But one of the things I think that's really important is not to micromanage, is to know our place as far as being on the council, and to not micromanage, but to make sure that we all know where we fit in, and to engage. And if there's ever problems or situations that develop, get in right from the beginning. There should not be any surprises as we work through issues and relationships with the city staff and the manager. Thank you.
Joey?
As an elected council member, I will work to hire the best darn city manager possible. That is key. Someone that will work with the council and represent the interests of the council. I will make sure that city manager hires and gets done with our police department, make sure they fill as much of that contract as possible. I work with the fire district to make sure they get their job done. I will make sure that city manager pushes for parks and recreation. I'll make sure of this by basically hiring the best manager possible. It's that simple. We need a good manager. Thank you.
And from Jack Main, and this question we will start with Jack Block and then roll through and end with Lauren. The cost of the police contract is the biggest part of the city budget, but many believe it is not large enough to bring the overall crime rates down further. Do you think adding 4 or 5 officers are enough to do this, and where should the money in the budget come from? Jack?
We have a serious problem with our police department, namely that we don't have enough police officers. Our cops are out there doing an outstanding job with resources that they have, but unfortunately, we only have enough officers to do reactive policing. We don't have enough officers to do crime prevention, proactive policing. I'll give you an example. Here in Burien, we have a crime rate of 59 per thousand, and in Des Moines, they have a crime rate of 39 per thousand, our neighboring city. In Burien, we have 1 officer per thousand. In Des Moines, they have 1,000 citizens. In Des Moines, they have 1.62 officers per 1,000 citizens. We don't have enough officers to keep our citizens safe. Right now, all our officers are doing are reacting to calls. They don't have enough time to do proactive, preventative policing. We need to make sure that we have enough officers on the street to be able to protect our citizens and keep us safe on the street and in our homes.
Steve?
Yeah, I definitely agree that we need more police and security in our neighborhoods. As far as where the money comes from, I think what we should all really be more involved with is what the budget is, and where we can find areas to take pieces of that budget out to reinforce our protected services, the fire department and the police department. And I think there's got to be a lot of ways to do that with some creative thinking. The money is there. So I think it's just a matter of getting down with the individuals that have the purse strings and finding a way to solve the budget problem. No raise in taxes, that should not be something that we should be looking at, but definitely I would agree to adding a few police women and men to the force.
Thank you. This is one of the main reasons I'm running. If I visited your door, you've heard that was one of my first parts I spoke to you about. I've heard it thousands of times that police safety, public safety is important to you. So what I'm willing to do is to work with you as citizens to find out what we really want. Working with you, I want to find the sweet spot of what we want to pay for versus what we want to receive. It's a complex process, but I'm willing to work that with you and make that happen. I also want to go after every single grant possible to make sure that our police department is filled with other people's money whenever possible. Thank you.
Lauren.
I think it's a really dangerous question to take a single issue out of the context of the entire budget. And I think that that's been actually where Burien has suffered in the past. So I think that we need to make a comprehensive plan and find out what the priorities are for Burien residents. And if that's public safety and if that's having more police on the job, then that's what we need to do. But I think before we jump and we are reactive, I think we need to be proactive. And I've already listed one way that the police force could actually improve the way they're doing their jobs right now. Because, as I said, the number one concern I hear far and away is speeding. And then I find out it's the lowest enforcement for the police right now. So I think that just having police enforce speeding may actually solve some of the issues without even having to add more police. I do hear public safety as a concern, but before we go and take money from one place and throw it to another place, I really do want to restate that we need to have a plan about how we do that. Because right now, the way we've been doing it, we don't have a comprehensive plan that's really managing how we're spending our money and where we're moving it from one piece to another. And I think that that's where we get into trouble and don't have enough for anything. Thank you.
Mr. Block would like to use his first purple card. Just a reminder that when you use that card, you have 20 extra seconds.
I'd love to see more police officers do traffic enforcement too. In fact, I've had discussions with our chief about that. Unfortunately, we don't even have enough officers to do basic policing. And as a consequence, we have excellent reaction times if there's a life safety issue, but we don't have enough officers to do proactive policing such as traffic enforcement. That's why we need to put more cops straight.
And that's time. Burien, it's back to you.
Let me shift to something different with regards to my question. During the last 5 years in particular, the United States as a national work and also our regional, state and local governments have put more emphasis on moving away from fossil fuels to renewables. And the reason is that they create new green-collar jobs. They stay in the community, increase the revenue, and help with the environment. So my question is, as an elected city council member or re-elected city council member, what specific new recommendations will you make to the city council to open up green economy in the community in Burien so that we have more green-collar jobs and thus improve our environmental sustainability, which is part of the vision of the city of Burien?
We will start with Steve.
Thank you. Yes, working for a large aerospace company in Puget Sound, one of our main focuses is on the renewable waste. And what I'd like to see is there's with all the business we have here in town, with the city offices, there's got to be ways that we need to look at renewing some of the resources that we expend. I think that probably what would be great is to get the business community involved and engage with them to see, what they find as far as, you could look at some of the places that do the oil and batteries, car batteries, things like that. And then you can go in deeper to larger waste type of items. But I think probably to engage with the business community and citizens and see, you know, what the hard spots are, and solicit ideas from them, and come up with ways to, you know, put together businesses that maybe can recycle and resell some of the items that we, you know, at one time thought were waste, that you can recycle and reuse for the betterment of the community and where we live. Thank you.
Joey?
Yes, definitely. Fossil fuels are definitely going out. So one of the ways I would love to increase this in Burien is overall, we need to basically get our kids up to speed on what's going on. We've got Aviation High School. One of the things I'd like to do is support that and what that's offering to our community. I'd love to, that's basically where we need to start. Get our kids going, teach them that there are new ways to do things, and it's not like, even me at 34 years old, I've really noticed that we've come a long way on the environmental front. I've taken up bicycling a lot and been traveling around Burien on my bike, and I've really seen that we really need to improve our bike infrastructure. That's something that a green company is going to want. We need to build the infrastructure so that those businesses want to come here. We need to get our kids educated. We need to move toward that direction. Some of the ways I'd like to do this is by focusing on the infrastructure. Thank you very much.
Lauren?
I think before we can even get our kids to school to become educated in green collar jobs, we need to worry about their safety getting there. Most of Burien does not have sidewalks. So I believe in partnering with the environmental groups to come up with permeable sidewalks and then make a network of safe paths to schools. Also, another path is to make sure that we make Burien a safer place and a cheaper place for Metro to run its buses through. And by doing so, we will get more bus routes coming from King County and coming from the legislators that would like to bring buses to Burien. And all of those require green jobs to figure out how we can get affordable, permeable sidewalks, to figure out how we can make it cheaper for Metro buses to run through the city, et cetera, et cetera. All of that requires a lot of training and a lot of work that Burien residents would love to take up, and also would result in effective reductions of car runoff into our beautiful Puget Sound. Thank you.
Jack?
Sustainability is an important issue for the members of our community. We've made a strong commitment to restoring and enhancing our environment. You know, we need only look at what we're doing out at Cedars Park to restore the beach down there. You know, it's an important issue, and I feel that as community leaders, we have a role to play to set an example. For instance, I'm the only member of the current council that has gone paperless, so that we can save resources and not waste valuable city funds printing a document that I can get online. Any program that we put in place, the first priority is to put a program in place that puts money into the pockets of Burien citizens. That means we have to look for and seize opportunities to get grants that insulate homes and put new windows in. 1/3 of all greenhouse gas emissions are created in our homes. We need to recognize that and take steps to protect the environment and make sure our citizens are able to not only have green houses, but are able to have increased money to help our economy. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question, and we'll start with Joey. Do you have special requirements you will look for in the new city manager now that the Texas firm has been employed to search for candidates? Do you favor a national potential candidate or one from around the state? What is your major criteria for a new manager? Joey?
Thank you. Thank you very much. This new city manager, first of all, will be someone that listens. Someone with great listening potential. I don't care if they're local or national. I'd love it if they were someone local, but they have to be the best person for the job. That is my top priority. I want someone that will listen to every single citizen no matter where they're from in Burien. I want someone that will do as much as they can to make this city succeed. This city manager is going to be someone who can put up with a lot of disparaging comments on occasion and isn't going to lose their cool. This city manager will be someone who can do the job under fire, because the city is a great city and it deserves the best. Thank you.
Lauren?
First and foremost, the city manager must be collaborative. I think that the city has suffered a lot in the past from not being able to work within the council, between the council and the city manager, and between the city manager and some of the residents. So I think that the most important thing is an ability and a desire to collaborate with all stakeholders. Next, I want to make sure that the city manager has a commitment to long-term positive growth, not just filling up storefronts with stores that are going to hurt Burien families and workers. I think we want to make sure that we get the right kind of growth and move forward with all the things that are important to Burien families. And finally, I second what Joey says about a representation for all members of the city. It's important that the city manager be committed to ensuring that every single neighborhood is represented equally and not just the ones with more money or with more loud voices or any of that. So again, I would say collaboration, a long-term planning strategy, and representation for all. Thank you.
Jack?
I think the most important thing for a city manager is to be able to work with the community and be able to listen and help the citizens be able to achieve what they feel their vision for the city is. But in the long term, I think that we have to take a hard look at our current form of government. I think that it's high time that we in Burien have a direct voice in who our executive leader is. It's time, I feel, that we have an elected mayor of Burien. We've had a city manager. It's a good form of government when you're first starting out, but we've graduated beyond that, and it's time for the citizens of Burien to have a direct voice as to who their executive leader is. It's time for us to have an elected mayor.
Steve?
Thank you. I've written down some notes here on this one. Whether it's a mayor or a city manager, I would prefer a state candidate and one that knows the community. People person, excellent communicator, knows their role, a collaborative, a win-win type of person, a planner and a visionary, and committed to the community. And just somebody that you enjoy working with. So that's what I would want in my city manager.
Arun will ask the next question, and we will start then with Lauren.
One of the primary responsibility of the city council is to balance the budget, biannual budget every 2 years. The city has limited revenue resources like the property tax and sales tax. There may be other user fees, etc., but they are not as much as these two major items. So my question is, in order to balance the budget, you got to make sure the expenditures and revenue are equal. What specific revenue source, new revenue source would you recommend? That doesn't have to be tax, it could be user fee or anything like that. But I'm interested in finding out any new ideas, innovative ideas that you folks have in terms of new revenue source for the city of Burien.
Lauren?
So I think that, again, one of the biggest issues that I hear about when I'm out talking to residents daily is sidewalks. Everybody wants sidewalks. And then the next thought is, well, how can we pay for them? I don't want to raise my taxes to pay for them. And so the answer I always say is, well, if everybody wants sidewalks, there are two things involved. It involves, again, having a comprehensive plan and recognizing that this is our priority or police is our priority. And then it also involves getting creative. There are a lot of grants out there if we're willing to collaborate with various groups. And I think that the current city council has not reached out to other groups as much as it could have. So we could collaborate for sidewalks with different grants that are available from environmental groups to reduce the runoff. And there are also groups out there that worry about child safety and about safe pathways to school. So it involves getting involved with different community groups and stakeholders and building a process to come together and raise that money. And I think that I'm the person to do that because I've been able to pass a collective bargaining bill in the worst recession by reaching across all sides and finding ways that everybody could win out of the situation, making sure the state saved money and the workers doubled their salaries. So I think that when we come together, we can find creative solutions that make it possible. Thank you.
Jack?
Well, grants are wonderful. That's why we have three full-time grant writers in the city. We make every effort possible to seize every grant that's out there and possible for us to obtain. The biggest impediment we have as far as revenue with the city is the limits that have been placed upon us by the legislature as far as where we can go for revenue sources. So as a consequence, when we as a city look at increasing revenue, we're faced with very, very limited and very regressive choices. For instance, electric utility tax. This is highly unfair because 50% of the residents use electricity to heat, 50% don't. We need to look at fair choices, and we need to have an opportunity given to us by the legislature so that we can talk to our citizens and be able to make those choices in a way that is fair and equitable, and take the handcuffs that the legislature has put on us so that we can have a fair and equitable revenue stream.
Steve?
So we discussed the grants, which is always good as a revenue source. One of the things I think about are some of the properties that we have in say along that airport strip, that Des Moines Way area. It seems like there's a lot of underutilization of those properties. I would like to see some sort of effort to maybe do a study to see, okay, what can we do with those areas that perhaps where people really don't want to live because of the noise, but there could be utilization for other opportunities. So I'm thinking we have some areas that within the city that we could build upon and perhaps utilize as an asset and a revenue source for whatever sort of structures or buildings or sort of components that we would like to place in those areas. So maybe looking at some of the underdeveloped areas and seeing what we can place on them might be an idea for additional revenue and growth.
Joey?
Thank you. So, no one likes paying more taxes to the government, but one of the things I've learned over these last months that I've been doorbelling and talking with people is if you tell them, hey, what if we pay this much for this thing? Almost always they say, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So one of the things I want to do is go to the citizens and say, if you want this, this is how much it's going to cost. Are you okay with that? Simple question, very transparent, something I'm for. And I think that's one of the greatest ways to go about getting those new specific revenue sources. Thank you.
And the next question, we will start with Jack. Here's a question from Jack. Do you favor a return to attempting to annex White Center and the rest of the unincorporated area? And do you favor a change to districts for council members in the future? Jack?
One of my first actions if I'm reelected, right after we nominate and elect a mayor and a deputy mayor, is to move that we remove the issue of designation of North Highline as a potential annexation area. You know, it's time that we end this. It's time to end it now. It's been a divisive issue. It's been polarizing. It's divided our city. The citizens of White Center don't want to be part of Burien. The citizens of Burien do not want to annex White Center. It's time to end this. It's time to end this now. We have spent over $500,000 in staff time and resources pursuing this issue. We can't afford that. It's time to end the issue of annexation and end it now. As to the issue of wards, you know, it's sad that that proposal was brought forth. You know, the only thing that wards do is divide our city. We need to bring our city together. As a council member, my task is to represent every citizen of Burien, and I pledge to do so. And we don't need to have wards to divide our city.
Steve?
Thank you, Jack. I'm finished with any sort of thoughts or observations. No, I agree with you all the way, Jack. Yeah, the annexation question, the issue is should be dead and gone. It's just we can't afford it, and it just doesn't make sense. One of my thoughts is and it was a question I think that was asked to Dow Constantine a while back here in White Center. Well, can White Center incorporate itself? And Dow came back and said, well, yeah, they can, but just make sure that once you move out of mom and dad's house, you don't get to move back in. So I heard that and I thought, wow, that's heavy. That means a lot. So yeah, the annexation thing just not economically possible. As far as wards, again, that divides the community. I'm thinking that we have a chance to put together a really good thing here with a council that can work together. And so, what do you want to do? You want to break that up into little sections here and there? No, we're a community, we're a city, we work together. So that's thought on that.
Joey?
Thank you. Yes, I support the overall annexation of North Highline. The current deal on the table wasn't enough for the voters, so I wouldn't act on it actively unless a better deal on the table was provided by the legislature and or King County. I've knocked on literally thousands of doors across every neighborhood in Burien, and rarely did annexation ever come up. What the voters want are safe neighborhoods. They want more police, more fire, and safe streets, including sidewalks, where it makes sense. The priority has not been this divisive issue that some candidates are trying to inject into this race for political gain. I will focus on what the voters want, not what's wrong with the current council. As for wards, overall, it could be a good idea. I'm not really sure. I'm personally in favor of it because I've seen how the voter splits are, and it's very unfair to certain parts of the city. However, I would put that forward, should that come up to the council, I would put that forward to a vote of the people. Thank you.
Lauren?
I agree with Joey. I think this issue is actually not even termed correctly an issue. Annexation has long since been voted on and it's over. The fact that I personally would vote to support annexation does not factor into the fact that when I'm out knocking on doors every day, that nobody has mentioned annexation other than just a handful of people. Again, the issues I hear about are speeding, sidewalks, police presence, safety, animal control. I really don't hear about annexation, and never once have I heard about districting. So these issues are really not even issues. They're being brought forth by the opposition just to make a tough campaign and to pretend that there is an issue to scare people. I think that, again, my reason for running is to represent the people of Burien, and the people of Burien are concerned about basic city functions, and that's what I will be working on once I'm elected. As for wards, I think it's very easy for the people in the majority, the power majority, to be opposed to separating into units. I don't think that that's actually a fair representation. Right now, much of the city is not being adequately represented, and wards would actually help bring people together. When there's equality, people can come together, and that's what I'm looking to do.
Arun will ask the next question, and we will start with Steve.
Burien has been an established city for the last 20 years. It's respected well by the suburban cities, King County, Port of Seattle, and other governmental organizations. So my question is, how would you use the city of Burien as a starting point for regional cooperation with the Port of Seattle, with the King County, with the suburban cities, so that there may be opportunities for cost sharing some of the major services, police, fire, or some other ones. So there would require city council's attention and leadership in order to make sure that regional cooperation becomes a unique opportunity for the city of Burien. I'm talking about regional cooperation between the city of Burien and other jurisdictions like the suburban cities, Port of Seattle, King County. How would you take advantage of these regional entities so that there may be opportunities for cost sharing some of the services and thus reduce the expenditures for the city of Burien?
We'll start with Steve.
That's an excellent question, and I think Burien's in a unique situation as far as where we are proximity-wise to a lot of different cities. We're right in the middle of West Seattle, Des Moines, Federal Way's close, Kent's close, Tukwila is close. We can play a major part in this region by stepping up to where we are. I think one of the things we have to concern ourselves with is growth. But one of the issues that I think we're faced with now is it 518 or 509 that runs from Normandy Park down to Seattle. You know, there's an issue there that they're gonna add on to the freeway, and we're right in the middle of that. What does that mean to Burien? Does that mean it's going to slow us down as far as moving about where we want to go traffic-wise? Is it going to bring in more opportunity? I think we're in a unique situation where we have more control than we really think we do. And what we need to do is go out and engage with these communities and make sure that we know when there's a plan for them to build their infrastructure, sidewalks, streets. Okay, well, maybe does that come close to our neighborhood, and can we capitalize on that? So it's reaching out, it's engagement, and working with these other cities to make sure that, hey, we get our piece of that pie. So the opportunity's there. We've got to be aggressive. We've got to capture it.
Joey.
Over these last 2 years, I've really gotten to know the elected officials in Burien, SeaTac, Des Moines, and all of these local area cities, Port of Seattle. And over again, I've heard the same thing. Burien used to be the shining light of the Highline area. What I mean by that is everyone looked for Burien for its stability. Everyone looked at the Burien to push us forward. Over the last 2 years, I've heard time and time again is that Burien seems to be going to the Looney Tunes. That's what I've heard over and over again. So I want to get back to putting Burien on that shining light because we truly are the core of the Highline area. And that core funds things like the Highline School District. It has other people come to Burien to spend their money. Des Moines, SeaTac, those elected officials tell us they're envious of Burien because we have a real downtown. That's one of the things I'd like to develop even more and make it happen. Thank you.
Lauren.
I think like so many things in life, as well as some of the other questions that we've had this evening, it starts with collaboration and desire to collaborate, and that starts with our city council. The current city council has been divisive and divided, and I think that bringing the council together and having us work together as elected officials, then we can move out and work with other cities as elected officials and be collaborative. And I also think that comes back to having a long-term plan. You can't just go out and decide tomorrow we're gonna work with somebody, Des Moines, on their police force. You have to have a long-term plan that matches up with their long-term plan and figure these things out. What are our priorities? Where can we save money? Put them real time into thinking and planning it out in advance. Because I think where Burien has struggled is, again, we've been often very reactive. And so it's time to really take a step back and become long-term and think about what we actually want to do and which things will work, which things will help Burien, which things will not. I think that we can do this, as long as we are a united council. Thank you.
Jack?
One area that our city's had a lot of success in is working with other jurisdictions and bodies in cooperating over utilizing resources. I'll give a couple of examples. Manhattan School Park, we're in the Manhattan neighborhood. We worked with the school district, put in a playtoy, and developed a park on school district property. The Sears Park, where we have the Marine Tech Center, Our new Public Works Department, we shared a evacuator truck for years with SeaTac and used their crack fixing equipment, crack repair equipment. You know, those are examples of how we've been successful in working with other cities. And we have to take that to the next step. You know, a good example I'd like to give is the Southwest Suburban Sewer District is building a new maintenance facility over at the old YMCA on 188th. We need a new maintenance facility for our public works department. It's time that we work with the sewer district, build a joint facility rather than both of us going and wasting resources. We need to share resources and move forward. We should have more than 75 seconds. Up the top.
Thank you. At this time, it's that time, and we will take questions from the audience. So we have a couple of microphones available. If you would please pretend like you were in my classroom and raise your hand, and then we will call on you and are eagerly awaiting your question. Not all at once. The back. And we will be starting with Joey for the response.
Oh, there we go.
Yes,
All
that's
right.
good.
Oh, okay. Good afternoon. My name is Joshua, and I've actually spent last 6 years working with Burien families with a couple nonprofits that I work for, which has been great. My question is actually about financial support for the candidates. Specifically, I think that Jack Block's support, over half of it has come from car dealerships. So my question for everyone, specifically Jack though, is how can we make sure that Burien family's voice is not drowned out, and sort of what promises of support have been made to you contributors? So thank you. That's my question.
Joey?
Sure. When I first decided to run for office, I let my friends and family know the good news. They chose to support me in running for office. I'm blessed with a large group of friends and family who each gave small contributions to my campaign. My biggest donor has been my dad, who's a registered Republican. I'm also a union member, and when my friends who are also union members found out, they were excited to help out. There's nothing nefarious about having a large group of friends and family helping me out. Now, having said that, I would love to also help out. I'm not sure most people know about this, but Transform Burien, something I found out over the last couple of years. It's a great organization. I'm kind of plugging this for them since we're talking about money. They are tackling the homeless issue in Burien that many of us turn a blind eye to. So if you have a chance, please give them money. They're doing great service to the community.
Lauren?
As a longtime union organizer, I know the importance of where money comes from and representing the workers and the families of Burien. And so my contributions come from all over, from people I've worked with, from people I've organized, from people I'm currently in school with, from the deans of my law school, from multiple unions, from all kinds of groups and persons who support the kinds of things that Burien is looking for. So for example, again, discussing sidewalks and a network of safe ways to commute that don't involve cars. I've been endorsed by the Cascade Bike Club. There are lots of different groups that have endorsed me. I invite you to check them out on my website. It's too long to list here. I've also been endorsed by numerous Burien businesses and Burien residents. Most of my contributions, like Joey's, are very small, so you will see if you look at the PDC report that most of mine come from lots of small donations, and they have been ever since I decided to run and announce my candidacy. And I'm very proud of my donor base for that reason. Thank you.
Jack?
Well, I'm proud of my donor base too. Well, I think it's important that we recognize that in order to have a thriving community, to be able to deliver the services that our citizens want and desire, that we need to have a thriving business community. And I'm proud to have had the support of two of our car dealerships. It's not the majority of my support. The majority of my support has come from the citizens of Burien, people who live in Burien. I think it's important that as we move forward, that we recognize that. Sorry, the train left the track there. Anyway, the majority of my support has come from the citizens of Burien. Sorry about that. Can't all be perfect.
Steve?
Thank you. Yes, I believe as far as my support, it's 98, 99% from Burien citizens. And I really I appreciate that. It's my first time in politics, and overwhelming the support and just the volunteers too. It's not just the money. It's also the people that go out and help you put down signs and flyers, knocking on doors. So that to me is overwhelming as far as my appreciation. So thank you.
Another question from the audience. Gentleman here. We will start with Lauren.
The city currently has a consultant working on developing an economic development plan for Burien. Tell me what your expectation of that work is, and in addition, comment on why the city chose the same consultant that did the 2012 vision work that had a shelf life of about 1 week.
Start with Lauren.
Well, I'd like to start by answering your second question by saying, because I wasn't on the city council when that happened. I think that, and not to be flippant, but I think that that's actually a really big issue. And I believe that the fundamental reason underlying the problem with the short shelf life is that the citizens were not the focus of that plan. So for anybody who has studied land use planning, one of the famous examples recent in the area is the city of Woodinville, which actually conducted extensive polling and surveys before they came up with their plan, and they made their plan match those surveys. It wasn't just somebody coming in and saying, I think this is important or I think that's important. And I think that's really what's been missing from the city of Burien, and that's what makes the shelf life short. Because once we see the plan, we say this doesn't really represent our priorities, and so we have to come up with a new one. And again, that's part of the reason that the main reason that I'm running for Burien City Council is because I believe that we need to represent all citizens and make an active effort to do so. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in our choice for economic development director too. This individual firm was picked by staff. As I recall, there wasn't any council input. I don't think that's how it should have been done. You know, I have a problem with things like our economic development plan and our plan for Southwest 153rd and $1 million worth of plans that are sitting on a shelf in the city manager's office, gathering dust. We have too many plans. What we need in Burien is action. You know, we don't need a plan. What we need to do is to gather the citizens together and come up with an action pathway to rebuilding our city. You know, I remember when I was 13 years old delivering the Highline Times in downtown Burien. We had a thriving and active downtown core with small businesses that supported their owners' families. You know, it's time for us to return to that. It's time to return to a Burien that is a regional attraction that draws people from throughout the area. So anyway, it's time for us to have action, not plans, the action as far as economic development.
Steve.
And again, that's one of the reasons I'm running for office. It seems like a lot of the decisions that have been made in the last couple of years have really, they haven't, for whatever reason, they're in a vacuum. There's no transparency. I definitely think that we need to engage with the community more on some of these issues and get more feedback from the community. I think if we do the planning, a good planning up front first, that'll help us lead down the trail to success. It just doesn't seem like it's happening that much, or hasn't happened that much in the last couple of years. So it's more engagement. probably less consultants and more just, let's get the tires onto the road and get things done. So common sense, I think, has a lot to do with it as well.
Joey?
Over and over again, the biggest issue I hear is that the voice of the entirety of Burien is not being heard. Burien is a huge city of about 50,000 people, and our representation on the council is very limited. As an elected council member, I will definitely hear the voices of the people from Manhattan, from my own neighborhood. The people from Boulevard Park, like the Aings, who live on 116th Street South, right on the border. I hear they've got great ideas, but they don't feel like they're connected with Burien yet. That's one of the things I want to bring. As for the shelf life of these plans, I definitely agree. They're sitting on there, and we're paying for them as citizens, and it's wasteful. There's a lot of great ideas. I've looked at them, but we're not at a point right now where we can act on them. I want to get Burien to a point where we can act on them. Thank you.
Question from the audience. Oh, I'm sorry. How could I miss purple today?
Because I'm not wearing any.
Okay, there you go. Now you are.
I just wanted to add that one great example of what happens when you jump to action too fast is you have to pave First Avenue South multiple times over the last few years. And so I do think that planning is critical. I just think that we need to make sure that we're doing the right kind of planning and involving all the stakeholders.
Thank you, Lauren. We have a gentleman with a hand up. We've got a couple of hands, and then one, oh, sorry, we have somebody in the back, and then we'll go to the middle, and then toward the back. We definitely have time.
My name is Roger, and I have lived in and around Burien since 1950. Now, when I try to go to Des Moines, from my house to Manhattan Village, there are 11 stoplights. It can take me 15 minutes. Do you have any solutions to help that problem?
Jack?
Well, I've had this discussion with our Public Works Director. My progress has been impeded also. Of course, for me, that's the most important thing. But, we need to, we had a chat and, as you may be aware, there's a new fiber optic line coming in associated with the dedicated metro rail system. And as part of that agreement, the city is going to piggyback onto that system, and our traffic lights will be attached to that so we can better coordinate our traffic signals. So hopefully that'll alleviate some of the problem. I understand your frustration in dealing with all the lights, but they serve a very real purpose, and that is to slow and calm traffic down. And yes, it is frustrating to sit at a light, and especially when while you're in front of that light, there's no traffic passing in front of it. But you have to understand that the system is reading lights 2 or 3 down from where you're at, so that's why that occurs.
Steve?
So Roger, if elected, one of the things that I'm really concerned about is hearing and listening to the voice of the citizens. I agree. I mean, it's got to be frustrating, 15 lights. But what I would do, and what I'd like to do, is actually find out what you're up against, where you live. I would drive down that road and firsthand see what you're confronted with, because here again, I think it's the council's responsibility to hear and listen and act upon the citizen's voice. So here again, I don't know exactly what your route is, but it's a genuine concern and something that needs to be looked into if it's voiced, and that would be one of my pledges to each and every one of you, if elected, to research and look into the concerns. Thank you.
Joey?
Mr. DeLorme, have you tried another route? In all seriously.
Yes, I have. I have found a better route. and it's not going through Burien. I almost make a habit sometimes of going around Burien instead of stopping in Burien because of all of the lights. Like I say, I lived here when there were no stoplights. And it's frustrating when you hit every red light. And like I said, it can take 15 minutes to get from basically Waku's Cafe to Manhattan Village on First Avenue.
Joey, your response to the issue of the travel time?
Thank you. As someone who lives in the Manhattan area, whenever I come to Burien, whenever I go to the transit center to take a bus to downtown Seattle, I take First Avenue South from roughly 189th to 150th or 151st. So I definitely know the traffic light issues, especially when I'm running late. I've missed many a bus because of those traffic lights, so I feel your pain. Definitely, there's a lot we can do. And one of the things I've learned at the city of Auburn when I was employed there was the traffic management system that was put in to control lights on Auburn Way south to the Muckleshoot Casino. It's relatively easy to do. It's relatively very expensive to put in. First Avenue is already built out. This is just one example. So unless we're running fiber around there, it's going to be very expensive, but very easy to put in. So if that's just something the citizens would like to do, I would be more than willing to look into that as a council member. Thank you.
Lauren?
You are not alone. I hear that concern every time I knock all along First Avenue and talk to people. And then interestingly, after dark, I started hearing the concern about how people use it as a speedway and ignore the lights altogether. So I think there are a lot of issues that come into play here. I think it involves, first and foremost, having a solid collaborative relationship with the city workers and of all levels to be able to convey that this is a real problem, because it sounds sort of funny the way you say it, but it's actually a serious issue that people are very frustrated about. And so I think that starting with that relationship, there are actually things we can do. And those things also help the bus routes as well. Again, it involves the just simple timers on the lights, really simple fixes that would alleviate at least some of your suffering right away. And that would also make it, again, cheaper for Metro to run buses through the city, which means we would be able to get more buses. And it's sort of a base issue that would start with a spiral of growth upwards. Thank you.
Other question? Gentleman in the center? Yes, please.
Both Jack and Steve mentioned that they'd like to build Burien back to what it was business-wise. We hear from business owners, it's not a friendly city to do business in. Could each one of you maybe give one example that you would recommend to the council on how to get Burien more business-friendly, get the merchants back wanting to come to Burien? And please don't use the words studies or plans.
And Steve, we start with you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a very good question, and one that I've thought about often, and I'm sure we all have, is, you know, I guess an easy answer is, well, incentives. So we offer incentives. We make it easier for a business to move in. But what does that do to the current businesses that are here? What do we do for them as well? So there's a balance issue there. But I would definitely say, as far as permits, working with the city offices, we've got to make that easier. We've got to lessen the barriers. We've got to make Burien a more vibrant neighborhood that businesses want to come in and you know, be a part of. So it's a business-friendly Burien. It's I think definitely looking at incentives and also and lessening the burdens of going through the permit processes. Granted, we do need permits. I mean, there's health issues for restaurants and such, but I think we can lean out that whole process, and that's something we definitely need to look into, because business is, you know, it's part of the community, and we need it.
Joey?
Yes, definitely. I plan to study, oh no, don't say that. So one of the areas that I felt weakest last time when I ran for city council was in the business area. I've never been a business owner myself. So I've been going until recently to the Burien Economic Development Program I've gotten to know a lot of those business leaders in there. And one of the things I have heard is that Burien is great, but Burien is also not very flexible when it comes to setting up a new business. Now, I didn't know exactly what that meant at first, so I kind of watched over the shoulder of a local business as they got set up. And the main issue is that the right hand is not talking to the left hand. Using my technological background that I've learned at both the city of Auburn and now the city of Seattle, is I know we can do better. So I will definitely work to make that a possibility through technology. That's one of my strong suits. That's how I pay the bills day to day. And I will definitely use my learned skills from other cities to benefit the residents of Burien. Thank you.
Lauren?
I think the critical point is actually going to be the phase 2 of the City Hall project. I think we have a great chance there to bring in a business that both works well with the families and the workers of the city and brings excitement to Burien so that people want to come to whatever that anchor shop ends up being. And then again, we start building a spiral up in terms of that people start coming, then you have revenue coming into the city, more businesses want to come. I think it's very important to be careful with incentives because they do discourage the local businesses that we all love and care very much about. And so I think that critical focus should be on the City Hall anchor store. I also have heard numerous times while I'm talking to citizens that the permitting process is not only tedious but not fair. There is a huge perception that it is not fair. So if it is fair, we need to be more transparent about it at best. And at worst, we need to fix the problem to make it consistent for everybody. And so I have not begun looking into that issue. When elected, I will gladly look into the permitting process issue. It is certainly something that I hear over and over. Thank you.
Yeah?
This is something I've been working on my entire term. Finally, we're getting a little bit of traction. Finally. You know, I think that if we want to have a successful community, we need to have a growing and thriving business community. Unfortunately, it is difficult to start a business in Burien. I'll give you an example that was brought to my attention by a local business owner. If you were to open a combination bar restaurant, for every 1,000 square feet of that bar restaurant, you would be required to provide 12 parking spaces for each 1,000 square feet of restaurant. So let's take an average size restaurant like the Tin Room. You know, that would require 24 parking spaces be provided, or an in lieu fee of $7,000 per parking spot. That's $186,000. You know, that's a major disincentive towards people wanting to build and create businesses in Burien. We have to take it away. Another business owner had dry rot on their window, and she was told that instead of just replacing the dry rot, she would have to replace the entire window at a cost of $75,000. I can talk for hours on this. We need to have action now.
Gentleman behind Representative Up the Grove was next in the queue with the hand.
I admit there's been a lot of divisiveness in the council, but beyond that fact, what I've also seen is that when the council did approve of something, those that disapproved and these were major issues, made the statements that they could not support, and the term with integrity was used. And what the council then chose to move forward with was not supported by the entire council. And I'm wondering which of the council members, what a council member will do when they're on the council to take care of the city of Burien as a whole and not their own individual needs.
Joey, we start with you.
Thank you. I've literally talked to thousands and thousands of people as I've come to houses and knocked on doors and found out what really matters to Burienites. It's plain and simple. I'm not here for myself. I'm here to represent you. I've got my marching orders. I've heard thousands and thousands of times that we want a safer community. Like I just said, it's not about me, it's about you. I will do what I've heard, like I've recorded thousands and thousands of times. I keep saying that over and over again because I've literally heard it thousands and thousands of times. I'm not here for me, I'm here for you. Thank you.
Lauren?
I think think that's the heart of the reason that I'm running for city council. I think that many of the residents find this very frustrating, myself included, because when you make a decision, it's supposed to represent all of the people that elected the whole council as an entire entity. And it seems that you debate and then you vote and then you should support. And even if it's not your first choice, it's what was officially elected. And I think the most important thing is remembering that not only are we talking to voters and talking to residents now as we're looking to get elected, but that won't stop once I am elected. I plan to, and I always do, talk to voters. I'm always out in the community. I'm part of this community, and I represent the community, which is all of us, not just me. Thank you. Jack?
When I was elected to represent the citizens of Burien, and when I hear from those citizens that an action is taking place that is wrong, that they don't agree with, the overwhelming majority of those citizens say that they're opposed to it, and yet the council goes ahead and moves forward with that. You know, quite frankly, I think that's wrong. And I think to stand by idly and let it go forward and not take action in the interest of the citizens is wrong. No, my job is to listen to, represent the citizens. And when I hear from them that an action is wrong, then it is my job, it is my duty to do everything I can that's possible to make sure that if an error, a grievous error is made, make sure that error is corrected.
Steve?
Thank you. Yeah, again, I'm not a politician. I've got a day job, but living here for pretty much all of my life, it's in my veins, and being a concerned citizen and wanting to help the community and listen to your voice and do what's right. I mean, to me, it's integrity, it's transparency, it's honesty, and I'm going to do my best to fulfill and to look into whatever sort of issues there are. It's not about me, it's about our community, and so that's what I will uphold.
We have time for one more question from the audience, and Lauren will answer first.
This is for every one of you. Are you in favor of a vibrant arts and cultural center in Town Square, or reducing Town Square to minimal multi-family housing along the transit corridor that staff is in the process of putting into place for the Growth Management Act?
Lauren?
I strongly support the arts. I was raised going to the Art Institute every Tuesday all summer and going to operas and going to all kinds of museums, everything. And it was very important to my development as a child. I want all children to be able to have access to the same things that I was lucky enough to have. So I believe that I've been endorsed by Shelley Park, who's the arts commissioner. And I believe that it's important for not just us adults, but also for our kids to have access to that, to see arts is important to the city, to see arts is important to the public enough to pay for them and support them. I think it is critical. I also worked at the elementary school down the street from where I now live and saw firsthand what happens when you cut arts programs from schools. So I think that it's important to make sure that those things don't happen by valuing arts at the larger level to begin with. Thank you.
Jack?
Well, when I was a kid, we didn't get a chance to go to the Art Center or the opera, but I did have a coloring book. And I'd say that not to make light, but because art is something that's of the people, and it's important to recognize that. And we need to have facilities in place that the people can have access to and have access to the arts. You know, we have a performing arts center next to Highland High School. We need to capitalize on that asset, not only to bring in more acts. Not everybody wants to go to a casino to see a national act, but also to draw more people to businesses. more people to Burien to patronize our businesses. You know, we have an opportunity to create an art center in our downtown that can not only highlight things like the theater, but the visual arts, music, other forms like that. You know, and then there's new forms of art, such as electronic art, graffiti art. You know, we have to embrace all of that. So, thank you.
Steve?
And I'm for the arts. I feel that to make Burien a place that people want to visit, a vibrant community, we need more. We need more in the way of arts. In fact, you know, I was thinking about the museum that hopefully will come to life here soon too. Things like that kind of represent Burien and you know, make us have more of a bond with our community is essential. So yeah, I'm all for the art side of things. But Robbie, I think you also mentioned something about apartments, and I've got a real concern about that direction. You know, part of me thinks about the people that are buying the condominiums or have bought the condominiums. You know, that's an investment. They spent a lot of money on that, and now maybe they're finding out that, well, maybe there's going to be apartments next door. Along with those apartments, I haven't heard really where people are going to park. That might be a problem, especially for business that's going to move into that area. If people can't park close to where they want to shop, are they going to visit Town Square? So I wonder about these apartments, and I think there's got to be a better plan, something that enhances Town Square, not lessens its integrity.
Joey?
First of all, I do love the arts. I'm not a gifted artist that can barely draw a stick figure. I'm not kidding. However, my younger boy, he is a true artist. He had us buy him an easel early on, so I definitely want to both encourage him and other artists out there, because it's really beautiful, the stuff he does. And he's only 8 now, but it almost brings a tear to my eye sometimes. It's very, very wonderful. Having a vibrant art center in downtown Burien is definitely one of the many impetuses I think Burien needs, and something I would love to look forward to as a council member, pushing that through as much as possible. These plans about low value apartments, I'm on the Burien Planning Commission. I can categorically say that's wrong. I'm going to leave it at that. It's trying to be made a divisive issue in the community, and it's just not so. Thank you.
Lauren would like to use her second purple card.
I just wanted to add very quickly that what I meant by saying that I hope all children have that opportunity is that where I grew up, they were free. And so they were free because they were valued by the community and they were valued by the city. And I would like to see that in Burien as well. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, and thank you for your questions from the audience. This time, we'd like to move to our closing statement. Again, you will have 75 seconds to answer. No purple cards, and we will start in reverse order, starting with Joey for closing statement.
Thank you all for being here tonight. It's very wonderful to see the civic involvement. As your elected council member, I will work to meet the needs of the people on a daily basis. The priorities given to me by the thousands I've met at the door are clear. A safer Burien. I will work to provide for Burien safety by increasing our police resources in every way imaginable. I will go after every grant possible and work to fill the need. I will work to get our fire station open and moving, not sitting empty. Sidewalks where they make sense for our kids going to school, and to increase walkability within the community. I will work to increase bike lanes where feasible and possible, because Burien is a great city to bike across. Arts and recreation will be a priority because I believe that they are constructively focusing our youth, and they will develop to be our greatest resource. I am not interested in continuing the bickering of the current council. My directive is clear, and if elected, I will work for all of Burien, not just small local groups. Thank you.
Steve?
Thank you. In closing, I would like to thank the B-Town blog, Scott and Mark, for providing this opportunity. What you guys do for the community is greatly appreciated. I'd also like to thank our moderators, Nancy and Arun, for doing such an excellent job this evening. Thank you. And more importantly, I would like to thank you, the audience, for your participation this evening. It's your voice and your vote that will decide and shape Burien's future. Thank you very much.
Jack?
When I ran for Port Commissioner in 2007, I received the highest rating possible given by the League of Women Voters. A rating rarely awarded, a rating of outstanding. That rating was a reflection of my work as a Burien City Council member. I feel that during my performance this term as your representative, I have lived up to that standard. Too many of my council colleagues have put their own interests ahead of the best interests of the citizens. It is time to end the divisiveness and move into action. It is time to ensure that our citizens feel safe on our streets and in their homes by adding more police officers. It is time to put a stop to divisive issues dividing our cities, such as dividing our city into wards, and end the question of annexation forever. It is time to rebuild and reinvigorate our business district. It is time for our entire community to pull together to ensure that every child has a world-class education. It is time for the citizens to have a direct say in who governs their city by having real democracy, a mayor directly elected by the people. It is time to put Burien back on track. My name is Jack Block Jr. and I ask for your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Lauren?
I decided to run for Burien City Council because I don't feel like all the neighborhoods and all the residents are being heard and represented. So I'm out talking to people every day. I hear that people need sidewalks. I hear people need streetlights. I hear people need police presence. I hear people need all kinds of things that are not even being discussed or addressed by the current city council. I am asking for your vote because I believe that I can represent the city of Burien and bring the people together. As a longtime union organizer, I know how to bring people together. I know how to pass legislation and get things done, even in tough times. I ask for your vote, and thank you very much for being here.
Candidates, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us this evening. You are to be commended for your courage in running for public service. On behalf of the B-Town blog, I bid you a fond farewell. Travel safe.